There was a moment in your life when you looked yourself in the mirror and said, I'm going to do more. I'm going to be more. I'm not settling for less than I deserve. Maybe it was late at night when the world was quiet. Maybe it was during a time of pain when you swore you would rise above it. Or maybe it was when you dreamed of the life you wanted, the kind of life that made your heart beat faster and your soul burn brighter. But somewhere along the way you forgot, you got busy, you got comfortable, you got distracted by the noise, by the doubts, by the opinions of others, and slowly that promise you made to yourself began to fade into the background. I'm here to remind you, don't forget the life you promised to yourself. That promise wasn't a random thought. It wasn't a fantasy. It was the truest version of you calling you forward. It was the whisper of your potential. And it's still waiting. Think about it. How many times have you said, I'll start tomorrow? How many times have you told yourself, when things calm down, I'll finally go after it? Let me tell you something. There is no perfect moment. Life isn't waiting for you to feel ready. Life rewards those who act in the face of uncertainty, who move forward even when fear tells them to stop. You know what's holding you back, not your circumstances. Not your lack of resources, not the challenges around you. It's the gap between who you are and who you decided you could be. That gap is closed by choices, by refusing to shrink, by refusing to settle. So let me ask you, what did you promise yourself? Was it freedom? Was it health? Was it love? Was it impact? Was it success? Whatever it was, you can have it. But only if you stop negotiating with yourself. Stop giving yourself permission to play small. Stop rewriting your dream into something safer because the real version feels scary. Here's the truth. The pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. Which weight do you want to carry? Because every single day you delay, you're either building the life you promised, or you're building excuses for why you don't have it. And I'll tell you this, your future self is watching. 10 years from now, you will either thank yourself for the courage you had today, or you will look back and wonder what could have been if only you'd kept your promise. So stand up. Wake up that fire you buried. Reclaim the vision you once had. Make the decision. Not tomorrow, not next week, not someday, but now. Don't wait for motivation to knock on your door. Create it with action, because the life you promised to yourself isn't going to build itself. It's waiting for you to step up, to fight for it, to demand it. And the moment you decide that nothing will stop you, not fear, not failure, not the opinions of others, that's the moment you begin to truly live. Don't forget the life you promised to yourself. It's still yours, but you've got to claim it. The promise you made to yourself wasn't a dream. It was a commitment to your highest potential. That moment when you whispered or maybe even shouted that promise, it wasn't some passing thought or random wish. It was born out of the deepest part of you, the part that knows you are meant for more. It came from a place of truth. A place where excuses and limitations don't exist, only vision and fire. That promise wasn't about hoping life would magically change. It was about deciding that you would no longer live beneath your potential, that you would rise above average, that you would not allow yourself to fade into the background of your own life. But somewhere along the way, many people forget that a promise is not just words. A promise is a contract with yourself. A commitment that demands action, discipline, and courage. Think about that moment. Think about the clarity you felt when you made that promise. Maybe you were sick of living paycheck to paycheck. Maybe you were tired of watching other people succeed while you sat on the sidelines. Maybe you looked in the mirror and realized you had more inside you than the life you were settling for. That moment of decision wasn't a fantasy. It was you catching a glimpse of the person you could become, and the only thing that separates you from that person is whether you choose to honor the promise or ignore it. Every single day you wake up, you're either moving closer to that version of yourself or drifting further away. The promise you made to yourself wasn't about comfort. It was about transformation. It was about breaking patterns that kept you small, silencing voices that told you to settle, and stepping into a life that demanded more from you. The truth is, most people don't fail because they don't have enough resources. They fail because they forget their promise. They let the noise of the world, the weight of their fears, and the comfort of the familiar pull them back into mediocrity. But the ones who keep their promise, the ones who live by it no matter how difficult it gets, are the ones who create lives others call extraordinary. That promise was never supposed to be easy to keep. It was supposed to stretch you. It was supposed to make you grow. It was supposed to demand a higher standard of you every single day. And when the challenges come, you'll be tempted to believe that maybe the promise was unrealistic, that maybe you asked too much of yourself. But in those moments, you have to remember that the promise wasn't about what was convenient. It was about what was possible. The life you promised to yourself is waiting on the other side of courage. It's waiting on the other side of discipline, of sacrifice, of saying no to the easy road and yes to the road that will build your strength, your character, and your legacy. If you forget the promise, you risk spending your life wondering what could have been. If you keep it, you step into the person you were always meant to be. The promise was never a dream. It was a declaration of who you are becoming. And the only question that remains is whether you'll have the courage to honor it. Comfort and distraction are the biggest thieves of the life you envisioned. When you first painted that vision in your mind, when you first saw yourself living a life that excited you, inspired you, and stretched you, you weren't thinking about comfort. You weren't thinking about scrolling on your phone, watching endless hours of entertainment, or playing it safe so nobody judged you. You were thinking about growth, about impact, about freedom. Yet the reality is, most people trade that vision for comfort. They convince themselves that settling for good enough is better than risking discomfort for greatness. And the tragedy is, comfort feels good in the moment but steals everything you truly want in the long run. Distraction is even more dangerous because it doesn't announce itself as an enemy. It sneaks into your life disguised as harmless. 1 minute, you're just checking notifications, and the next, hours are gone. One day, you delay your dream because you're tired, and before you know it, years have passed. Distraction is the silent killer of potential. It doesn't take everything from you at once. It chips away piece by piece until you wake up realizing you've drifted far from the life you promised yourself. Comfort is seductive. It whispers, "Stay where you are. You've done enough. Why push harder?" And because the human brain is wired to avoid pain, it's easy to listen. But ask yourself this: has comfort ever delivered greatness? Has distraction ever built legacies? The people who live extraordinary lives are not the ones who always felt comfortable. They are the ones who leaned into discomfort, who were willing to be uncomfortable for the sake of becoming who they were meant to be. You see, the life you envisioned requires discomfort. It requires waking up earlier when you'd rather sleep. It requires pushing your body and mind past what feels easy. It requires facing fears instead of avoiding them. Comfort will never give you that. Comfort is the slow death of ambition, and distraction, layered on top of comfort, ensures you'll never see the life you once dreamed of. Think about how much time is lost every day to things that don't matter. Think about how often you've put off action because you were distracted by something that brought you no closer to your goals. Those little moments add up. They create habits, and habits create your reality. If you're not intentional, distraction becomes your lifestyle, and comfort becomes your cage. The truth is, you already know this. Deep down, you felt the regret of wasted time. You've had nights where you told yourself, "Tomorrow I'll be better." You've had mornings where you wished you had stuck to the plan. That regret isn't there to punish you. It's there to wake you up. It's a reminder that you were made for more than comfort, that your vision demands focus, sacrifice, and relentless pursuit. The life you envisioned doesn't wait for you while you sit in comfort. It doesn't pause while you're distracted. It keeps moving forward, and the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to catch up. But the good news is you can reclaim it. You can decide right now that you will not let comfort and distraction steal another moment. You can decide that when temptation whispers, you'll answer with action. The life you promise to yourself requires focus sharper than distraction and courage greater than comfort. It demands that you choose the path of growth, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's hard, even when it feels like the easy road would be so much simpler. Because the truth is, the easy road costs more in the end. Comfort and distraction might give you short-term relief, but they'll rob you of the long-term joy of living the life you once envisioned with all your heart. There is no perfect time to start. The right time is always now. Too many people spend their lives waiting for the right circumstances, waiting until they feel ready, waiting until the fear goes away. They tell themselves they'll take the leap once things calm down, once they have more money, once they have more knowledge, once they feel more confident. But the truth is, those conditions almost never line up perfectly. Life doesn't hand you the perfect moment on a silver platter. If you keep waiting for the stars to align, you'll wait forever, and the life you promised yourself will remain just a picture in your imagination instead of becoming your reality. The belief that you need the perfect time is one of the most dangerous lies you can tell yourself. It creates a cycle of procrastination where days become weeks, weeks become months, and months become years. And then, one day, you wake up realizing the time you were waiting for never arrived. The only time that ever truly exists is now. Every opportunity, every breakthrough, every transformation begins in the present moment. The longer you wait, the further you drift from the life you envisioned. Think about it. Every person you admire, every success story you've ever heard, every individual who created an extraordinary life started without being fully ready. They started with fear in their chest, with doubts in their mind, with uncertainty about the outcome. What separated them from the ones who stayed stuck wasn't better timing. It was the decision to act anyway. They understood that action creates clarity, while waiting creates more doubt. The courage to start now, even imperfectly, is what builds momentum, and momentum is what turns dreams into reality. The idea of waiting for the perfect moment is comforting because it allows you to avoid the discomfort of starting. It lets you say, "I'll do it later," while convincing yourself you're being smart and strategic. But deep down, you know that later rarely comes. Later is where dreams go to die. Later is the graveyard of goals, filled with all the promises that were never fulfilled because someone kept waiting. The right time isn't later. It's now, while your heart still beats with the vision of who you want to become. Yes, starting now is uncomfortable. Yes, it's risky. Yes, it's messy. But that's the price of growth. You don't need to have it all figured out before you begin. You don't need to see the entire staircase to take the first step. The path becomes clearer as you walk it. Waiting for perfection only guarantees one thing: you'll never move. Perfection doesn't exist, but progress does, and progress only comes to those who start. Consider this: the pain of starting now is temporary, but the pain of never starting is permanent. Which one are you willing to live with? Because whether you act or not, time will pass. A year from now, you could be thanking yourself for the courage you showed today, or you could still be in the same place, telling yourself the same excuses. The only difference between those two outcomes is the decision you make right now. The life you promised yourself depends on your willingness to start before you feel ready. It depends on your decision to step forward even when fear whispers that you should wait. It depends on your ability to trust that action will reveal the answers you don't yet have. Waiting is the enemy of your dream, but now is your greatest ally. The right time will never come. It's already here. It's now. Every choice either builds the life you promised or strengthens the excuses holding you back. Life is built on choices, not just the big, dramatic ones, but the small, quiet ones you make every single day. Each decision you make is like a brick, and with every brick you lay, You are either constructing the vision you once promised yourself or you're building a wall of excuses that keeps you from reaching it. People often underestimate the power of daily decisions, believing that one skipped work, out, one wasted hour, or one ignored opportunity doesn't matter. But over time, those choices compound and suddenly, you find yourself far away from the life you swore you'd create. The truth is, excuses are comfortable. They let you off the hook. They allow you to stay where you are without facing the discomfort of change. But every time you choose an excuse, you strengthen the chains that hold you back. You give more power to the story that says, I can't, instead of the story that says, I will. And here's the dangerous part: excuses don't show their damage immediately, they sneak up on you. One day, you'll look back and realize that the only thing standing between you and the life you wanted was the excuses you convinced yourself were valid. Choices, on the other hand, are powerful because they shift your trajectory. Every time you choose to take action, even a small one, you reinforce your promise. You prove to yourself that you are serious, that you are committed, that you are willing to do what it takes. Momentum is built on consistent choices, and momentum is what carries you from where you are to where you want to be. Ask yourself right now, what story are my choices writing? Am I choosing the hard road that leads to growth, or the easy road that leads to regret? Am I honoring the life I promised, or am I strengthening the excuses that keep me comfortable but unfulfilled? You know the answer, and the beautiful thing is, you also hold the power to change it. You don't need massive, life-altering decisions every single day. What you need are consistent, intentional choices that align with your vision. The choice to wake up an hour earlier and invest in yourself. The choice to say no to distractions and yes to focus. The choice to push a little harder when you want to quit. The choice to believe in your promise even when circumstances make it hard. Those choices, stacked day after day, become unstoppable momentum. But if you don't take control of your choices, your excuses will. Excuses will always be there, whispering reasons why now isn't the time, why you aren't ready, why it's safer to stay where you are. They'll convince you that you're being realistic, that you're protecting yourself, when in reality, they're keeping you locked in a cage of mediocrity. Every excuse you accept adds another bar to that cage, making it harder and harder to break free. What you have to remember is that the life you promised yourself won't be built by accident. It won't happen through wishful thinking or half-hearted effort. It will be built brick by brick, choice by choice, through the discipline of saying yes when others say no, and through the courage of refusing to let excuses dictate your destiny. The question isn't whether you have the ability to create that life. You do. The question is whether you will make the choices that prove it. Your future self is depending on the courage you show today. Think about that for a moment. The version of you 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now is watching the decisions you make right now. That version of you will either thank you for the sacrifices, the discipline, and the bravery you showed, or it will look back with regret, wishing you had taken action when you had the chance. Every action you take today is shaping the quality of life you will experience tomorrow. The future you dream about isn't built by accident. It's the direct result of the courage you choose to exercise in the present. Courage doesn't mean you won't feel fear. It means you act despite fear. It means you look at the unknown and say, I'm going anyway. Too many people think courage is about grand heroic gestures, but in reality, it's about the small, consistent choices to step outside your comfort zone when it would be easier to stay put. It's about speaking up when your voice shakes, about taking the first step when you can't see the whole path, about trying again after failure when quitting would be simpler. These moments don't look like much in the moment, but they build the foundation your future self will stand on. Ask yourself, what kind of life do you want to look back on? One filled with excuses and regrets, or one filled with growth, impact, and fulfillment, because no matter what, that future is coming. The question is whether it will be the one you promised yourself or the one you settled for. And the deciding factor is the courage you show today. Your future self doesn't care about the comfort you cling to right now. It doesn't care how many times you hit snooze, how many opportunities you delayed, or how many times you told yourself you weren't ready. Your future self cares about the habits you build, the risks you take, and the effort you pour into becoming the person you said you would be. Every courageous decision you make today is a gift you give to the future version of you. And every act of hesitation, every moment you let fear win, is a debt you pass along that your future self will have to pay. It's easy to forget that the future isn't some far off place. It's arriving faster than you realize. The days pass, the months fly by, and suddenly you're living in the reality created by your past choices. If you're not intentional, you'll find yourself living a life designed by fear and hesitation instead of courage and action. But if you choose courage today, you'll be building a future that reflects your true potential, not your temporary doubts. Courage requires faith in yourself. It requires believing that even if you stumble, even if you fail, you have the strength to get back up. It requires trusting that the pain of growth is always less than the pain of regret. Courage is never comfortable in the moment, but it always pays dividends later. And those dividends show up as freedom, confidence, fulfillment, and pride in the life you've created. You owe it to yourself to show up with courage today, not just because of what it will give you now, but because of what it will give you later. Every courageous act compounds. Every bold step creates momentum. And momentum is what turns dreams into reality. The life you promised yourself is waiting for you, but it will only arrive if the courage you show today is greater than the fear that tries to hold you back.